let's take a deeper look now at what's next for Europe's biggest economy with Klaus Larres. He's a professor of history and international affairs at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome. How are you?
Good, thank you. So for people who aren't familiar, what is Olaf Scholz best known for, and how is his political style been described?
Olaf Scholz is a very experienced politician. He came into national politics already in the late 1990s. He's an unassuming politician, quite modest. He's not a very glamorous politician. Some people have described him as very quiet and almost boring. He was finance minister under Angela Merkel, a very conservative, solid finance minister, and before that he was mayor of the city-state of Hamburg, where he had to deal with various crises. So he has managed quite a few crises already, and of course that is what he's going to expect now, to have a life full of crises.
And this is quite the changing of the guard after 16 years. So talk about some of the key similarities and differences between him and outgoing Chancellor Merkel.
Well, above all, he talks about the modernization of Germany, the modernization of the German economy and German life as such. And he, above all, wants to become a climate chancellor. And in the past, of course, Angela Merkel has also put a focus on climate change, on renewable energy and similar matters. But that is now being pushed even more strongly by both Olaf Scholz and his Green coalition partner. And I think he means what he says. You know, Germany has abolished coal, has abolished nuclear energy, is just relying on gas and oil still, but only with great reluctance. They really go for renewable energy, and that is what the agenda is in domestic policy, but also Germany's foreign policy is meant to be focused on pushing sustainability and energy, a change in energy policy worldwide.
So then talk about the economy that Scholz is inheriting, especially in light of COVID.
Yeah, the situation at the moment is not very good. The German economy is lagging. Factory outputs have slumped, and for the fourth quarter, people expect even worse results. They are hopeful that next year, 2022, the German economy will gain steam again and growth will return. But at the moment, it's not a good situation. And inflation is very high. It's running at around about 6%, and that is very high indeed for Germany. And the German public has had a thing about inflation since really the 1920s and the galloping inflation of the Weimar Republic. So inflation scares the German public. And all the questions Scholz is getting about the economy really deal always with inflation. When is inflation coming down? What can you do to bring down inflation? And so Scholz certainly is facing a very difficult time regarding the economy.
So then what have we learned about Scholz's planned response to these issues like unemployment and inflation?
Well, there's very little the government can do regarding inflation. Regarding employment and unemployment, the government, of course, has greater incentives or greater possibilities to embark on more spending to support companies. And here, of course, the FDP finance minister will help him, who is quite pro-business. So I think most Germans are not so much concerned by unemployment at the moment, but by really runaway inflation. And for them, 6% is already runaway inflation. On top of that is the very dire corona situation. The corona crisis is still escalating. We have a new variant which scares people. We don't really know what to expect from that variant. And there is a great vaccination reluctance in many parts of Germany, particularly, for example, in the eastern state of Saxony, but also in other eastern German states, where people simply don't want to get vaccinated. And as we all know, the best method for fighting the coronavirus is really to get vaccinated, to wear masks. But many Germans, and also Germans in other German-speaking countries, like in Austria or in Switzerland or in northern Italy even, there is a great reluctance to get vaccinated. And Scholz will have really be very busy to fight that tendency. And there is talk about vaccination mandates for compulsory vaccinations,
right,
and make it very difficult for people who are not vaccinated to participate in general life. But that is a very difficult task.
So just very quickly then, with all these things on the table, how might the makeup of this coalition government impact these priorities?
Well, it's a difficult coalition. You know, it's difficult to have three parties around the table who are essentially very different. But at the beginning, I think they will try to get the act together and cooperate quite well because they don't want to have their government fail right at the beginning. And they have agreed on a contract, on a coalition contract, which consists of 177 long pages and quite detailed. And they will try to stick to that. And that refers to the economy, that refers to climate change, that refers to important foreign policy issues and environmental issues and coronavirus issues. So everything has really been covered. I would expect that at least for the first few months, we see a real act, a real energetic act by the new government to bring that coalition contract to fruition and to help the country to improve its lot again, both economy-wise and regarding the vaccination drive. So I'm not too pessimistic that the new government will really have a good beginning, but then we'll see how after a few months how things will develop.
Well, I'm sure we'll follow up with you. Thank you as always. Klaus Larres there, Professor of History and International Affairs at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.